In the heart of a rapidly changing city, one chef dares to bring his heritage to the streets. But prejudice is a bitter ingredient he didn't expect. This is the story of Rez Road Kitchen, a journey of food, family, and fighting for your place, in a world that isn't always ready to welcome you. Stay tuned to discover what happens next in this powerful story. And please, take a moment to subscribe, so you don't miss any part of Rez Road Kitchen's unfolding journey. Before we start, let us know in the comments where you're watching from so we can bring you stories you'll connect with. Jace looked out at the corner lot, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the cracked pavement. It wasn't much to look at right now: weeds pushing through gaps in the asphalt, a graffiti-covered wall on one side, and the constant city hum of traffic roaring past. But Jace saw potential. He saw steam rising from grills, the vibrant colors of Navajo tacos, the tempting aroma of cedar plank salmon wafting through the air. He saw Rez Road Kitchen, his dream on wheels, finally taking shape. For years, the dream had been simmering, much like the rich stews his grandmother used to make. Jace had honed his skills in kitchens across the Southwest, from bustling resort restaurants to quiet, family-run cafes. He learned the French techniques, mastered Italian pasta, but his heart always pulled him back to the flavors of his Diné heritage. He envisioned food that told a story, the story of his people, the land, and generations of culinary tradition. A food truck felt like the perfect starting point. Less overhead than a brick-and-mortar restaurant, more freedom to move and share his food with different communities. And this location, well, that was the dilemma. The neighborhood was in transition. Up and coming, the real estate agents called it. Jace knew the real story: gentrification. Shiny new condos were sprouting up like mushrooms after rain, pushing out the longtime residents, the families who had given the neighborhood its soul. Trendy boutiques and artisanal coffee shops were replacing the local bodegas and corner stores he remembered from his childhood visits to his aunt, who lived just a few blocks over. His cousin, Maria, who knew this part of the city like the back of her hand and had a knack for navigating city bureaucracy, had found this spot. "It's got visibility," she'd told him, pointing to the busy intersection and the foot traffic from the nearby subway stop. "But," she'd hesitated, her usual cheerful tone softening, "it's different now, Jace, you know?" He did know. Different meant whiter, wealthier, less familiar with fry bread and blue corn mush. Different meant potentially less welcoming of a Native American food truck. He'd already sensed the shift in the air on his visits to the area, the curious stares, the subtle assumptions, the feeling of being an outsider in a place that in some ways still felt like home. His grandmother, Nana May, his biggest culinary inspiration, worried about it too. "Big city can be a hungry place, grandson," she'd said in her slow, deliberate voice, "but it can also be a place that forgets its roots. Will they understand our food?" Jace, leaning against the dented side of his newly acquired food truck, still in the process of being renovated, pushed those doubts aside. He had to believe. He wasn't just selling food. He was sharing a piece of himself, a culture that deserved to be seen and tasted. He would make them understand. One delicious bite at a time. He pulled out his phone and snapped a photo of the lot, sending it to Maria with a simple text: "Ground Zero. Let's do this." He knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. But as the scent of wood smoke and roasting chilies already seemed to fill the air in his imagination, he felt a surge of determination. Rez Road Kitchen was coming. And it was going to be unforgettable. The transformation of the food truck was a whirlwind of activity. Jace, fueled by nervous energy and copious amounts of coffee, worked tirelessly alongside Maria and a small crew of friends he'd convinced to help. They painted the truck a vibrant shade of turquoise, a color reminiscent of desert skies. Maria, with her eye for design, created a striking logo, a stylized desert landscape with a silhouetted food truck kicking up dust. The words Rez Road Kitchen boldly emblazoned beneath. Inside they installed gleaming new equipment, a flat-top grill, a deep fryer, a steamer, and plenty of prep space. Jace insisted on a wood-fired smoker in the back, a touch of tradition he wouldn't compromise on. The smell of cedar and mesquite, even during the installation, filled him with a sense of home. Opening day arrived like a nervous sunrise. Jace was up before dawn, prepping ingredients, his hands moving with practiced ease as he chopped onions, diced tomatoes, and seasoned the ground bison for his signature Navajo tacos. Nana May had sent him a care package overflowing with dried chilies and herbs from her garden, along with a handwritten note filled with blessings and recipes whispered down through generations. He carefully unpacked it, the familiar aromas grounding him. By lunchtime, Rez Road Kitchen was parked on the corner lot, gleaming under the midday sun. Jace took a deep breath, the city noise a dull roar around him, and flipped the "Open" sign. Then he waited. The first customers were tentative, curious passers-by, a young woman in business attire, peering at the menu board with a slightly puzzled expression. A couple pushing a stroller, glancing at the colorful truck with interest. An older man with a skeptical look lingering near the curb. Jace plastered on his most welcoming smile. "Welcome to Rez Road Kitchen. First time trying Native American food?" he called out. The young woman approached hesitantly. Yeah, maybe." "What do you recommend?" Jace's face lit up. This was his moment. "You gotta try the Navajo taco," he said, gesturing to the description on the menu. "Fry bread, seasoned ground bison, all the fixings. It's like history on a plate." She raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Fry bread?" "Yeah, it's a long story," Jace chuckled. "But trust me, it's delicious." She ordered one, along with a side of roasted corn salsa. The couple with the stroller ordered fry bread for themselves and a smaller, plainer one for their toddler. The skeptical older man opted for a cup of green chile stew, cautiously. As Jace and Maria, who was working the window and taking orders, moved into action, the air around the truck began to fill with enticing aromas. The sizzle of bison on the grill, the warm, yeasty scent of fry bread puffing up in the fryer, the smoky fragrance of roasting corn and chilies. It was a symphony of scents designed to lure in even the most hesitant palate. The young woman took her first bite of the Navajo taco, her eyes widening in surprise. "Wow," she said, mouth full. "That's incredible." The couple devoured their fry bread, the toddler happily smearing it with honey. Even the skeptical older man seemed to soften after a few spoonfuls of the stew, a faint smile playing on his lips. By the end of the lunch rush, Jace was exhausted but exhilarated. They'd sold out of nearly everything. Customers were raving, taking pictures, posting on social media. Maria was fielding compliments and handing out business cards as quickly as she could. "We did it, Jace," she exclaimed, wiping sweat from her brow, her eyes shining with excitement. "They loved it. They really loved it." Jace grinned, relief and pride washing over him. The dream was real. Rez Road Kitchen was open. And for today, at least, it felt like the neighborhood was hungry for what he was cooking, in more ways than one. But as the initial rush subsided and the shadows lengthened again, a small knot of unease tightened in his stomach. He knew this was just the first taste. The real test was yet to come. The initial buzz around Rez Road Kitchen continued through the first week. Word of mouth spread quickly. People lined up at lunchtime, eager to try the Navajo tacos, the blue corn chicken tamales, the unique flavors they couldn't find anywhere else in the neighborhood. Jace was riding a wave of positive energy fueled by the enthusiastic reception. Then the whispers started. It began subtly. A few customers asked with thinly veiled curiosity, "So is this authentic Native American food?" The emphasis on authentic felt pointed, almost challenging. Jace would smile and patiently explain his recipes, the traditions behind them, the connection to his Diné heritage. But he sensed a doubt beneath the surface, a need for validation. Then came the online reviews. Mixed blessings, those things, alongside the glowing five-star raves. Best food truck in the city, fry bread heaven, flavors you won't forget, were comments that stung. Interesting, but a bit exotic for my taste. Greasy and heavy, not exactly healthy. And one that made Jace's blood run cold. Smells good, but is it really safe? Are they using sanitary practices? That review was anonymous, of course, but it felt like a deliberate jab, loaded with prejudiced assumptions about food from a food truck, let alone Native American food. Maria tried to downplay it. Ignore the trolls, Jace. Every successful place gets haters. But Jace couldn't shake it off so easily. It wasn't just about a bad review. It felt like something more insidious, a subtle campaign to undermine his success. One afternoon, a city inspector showed up, unannounced, during the busiest part of the lunch rush. Inspectors were routine, Jace knew, but this felt different. The inspector, a stern-faced man with a clipboard and a condescending air, scrutinized every corner of the truck, lingering over the smoker, questioning Jace about his food handling procedures with an almost accusatory tone. "Everything's up to code, right?" the inspector said, his voice laced with skepticism, as if expecting to find violations. Jace, forcing himself to remain calm and professional despite the simmering anger, patiently walked him through every step, every permit, every certification. Maria, her friendly demeanor replaced with a steely resolve, documented everything, her phone camera recording the entire interaction. After an hour of meticulous and frankly unnecessary inspection, the man finally shrugged. "Seems okay," he conceded, with a grudging tone that implied he still had his doubts. He scribbled something on his clipboard and left without a word of apology for disrupting their busiest time. As Jace watched him go, a chilling realization dawned. This wasn't random. Someone was targeting him. Someone wanted Rez Road Kitchen to fail. That evening, after they closed up shop, Jace and Maria sat on upturned buckets outside the truck, the city noises fading into the night hum. The initial excitement of opening week felt miles away. "That, Inspector," Maria said, breaking the silence. "That was harassment, Jace. Pure and simple." Jace nodded, feeling the weight of it settle upon him. "It's the whispers, Maria. It's all connected. They don't want us here." Maria looked at him, her eyes filled with a mix of anger and determination. "Then we'll just have to prove them wrong. We'll cook even better food. We'll be even more welcoming. We'll fight back, Jace, with flavor." Jace managed a weak smile. Maria's fighting spirit was infectious, but a gnawing worry remained. This was more than just a business challenge. It was a fight against prejudice, against ingrained biases that ran deeper than he'd anticipated. And he knew, instinctively, that this was just the beginning of the battle for Rez Road Kitchen. The whispers morphed into more direct challenges. A blog post appeared online, titled, "Is Rez Road Kitchen Really Native?" The anonymous author questioned Jace's credentials, implying he was appropriating Native American culture for profit. "Fry bread isn't even traditional," the post sneered, citing historical complexities and government rations, twisting the story of resilience into a weapon of cultural gatekeeping. Jace read it, his stomach tightening into a knot of frustration and hurt. Fry bread, a symbol of survival, resilience born from hardship, was being used to invalidate his identity, his food, his entire endeavor. Nana May's stories of ingenuity and adaptation during times of scarcity echoed in his mind, making the accusation even more painful. He knew the history, the complicated, sometimes painful evolution of Native American cuisine. He wasn't trying to recreate a museum piece. He was celebrating living traditions, adapting and innovating, just as generations before him had. He was honoring his heritage, not exploiting it. The blog post sparked comments, some supportive, defending Jace and his food. But many were echoes of the same doubt and negativity. Trendy gentrification food, fake native, just another food truck gimmick. Customers started asking more pointed questions. "Is your fry bread made the real way?" one woman asked, scrutinizing her Navajo taco as if searching for flaws. "My friend said true fry bread is supposed to be different." Jace, trying to maintain his composure, explained his recipe, emphasizing the quality of his ingredients, the care he put into each dish. But he could see the doubt lingering in their eyes. It was as if his food wasn't being judged on its taste, its quality, but on some arbitrary external measure of authenticity dictated by people outside his culture. The pressure mounted. He found himself second-guessing his menu, wondering if he should simplify, cater to mainstream tastes, dilute the very essence of what Rez Road Kitchen was meant to be. He even considered removing fry bread altogether, the very dish that had become his accidental signature, the dish that connected him to his grandmother, to his past. One evening, feeling particularly discouraged, he called Nana May. Her voice, though frail with age, was still strong, filled with wisdom that had weathered countless storms. He told her about the blog post, the questioning, the pressure to conform. Nana May listened patiently, then chuckled, softly. "Grandson," she said, "authenticity isn't about pleasing strangers or fitting into their boxes. It's about honoring your heart, your ancestors, the stories you carry within you." She continued, "Our food has always changed, always adapted. We survived by being resilient, by using what we had, by creating something new from hardship. Fry bread is a reminder of that strength, not a symbol of inauthenticity." Her words were a balm to his soul. He realized he'd been letting the voices of strangers define him, dictate his path. He had to reconnect with his own truth, his own vision. The next day, Jace made a bold decision. He put up a sign outside Rez Road Kitchen. "Our food, our story." He started engaging with customers directly, sharing the stories behind his dishes, the cultural significance, the personal memories woven into each recipe. He even started offering small samples of traditional ingredients like blue corn and wild rice, educating people, inviting them to understand, not just consume. He addressed the fry bread debate head-on, posting a thoughtful message on social media explaining the history, the symbolism, his own connection to it. He didn't apologize for his food. He celebrated it in all its evolving, vibrant, and personal authenticity. The response was surprising. Some critics remained unconvinced, entrenched in their preconceived notions. But many others, perhaps those who had been genuinely curious, but unsure, began to engage differently. They asked questions with genuine interest. They listened to his stories. They tasted his food with a newfound appreciation for the culture behind it. Jace realized that authenticity wasn't a fixed point to be achieved, but a story to be shared. And he, with Rez Road Kitchen, was just beginning to tell his. Just as the online criticism began to subside, a new threat emerged, this time from a different angle. City Hall. A formal-looking letter arrived citing noise complaints and zoning violations related to Rez Road Kitchen's operation. The complaints, supposedly from nearby residents, claimed excessive noise from the generator and late-night food prep, and that food trucks weren't permitted in this newly designated commercial zone. Jace was stunned. The generator was state-of-the-art, designed for minimal noise. Food prep wrapped up well before any late night, and Maria had meticulously checked zoning regulations. Food trucks were permitted with the right permits, which they had. It felt like a manufactured excuse, another way to squeeze him out. Maria, ever the pragmatist, sprang into action. "We fight this, Jace," she declared, heading straight to City Hall, armed with their permits, noise-level documentation, and a healthy dose of righteous indignation. The process was Kafkaesque. Endless lines, dismissive clerks, conflicting information. When Maria finally managed to speak to a zoning official, a mid-level bureaucrat with a practiced air of indifference, she was met with stonewalling. "There have been complaints," the official stated, avoiding eye contact, shuffling papers on his desk. "We are simply responding to community concerns." "But the complaints are baseless," Maria argued, presenting their evidence. "Our noise levels are within regulations. We have all the permits, and food trucks are allowed here." The official remained unmoved. "Regulations can be interpreted," he said vaguely, "and community concerns are significant." He hinted at new interpretations of zoning laws, pending revisions regarding food truck operations in certain areas. It was bureaucratic doublespeak, clearly designed to frustrate and deter. Maria left City Hall defeated, but not broken. "They're making it up as they go along, Jace," she fumed. "It's not about rules, it's about us." They decided to fight back on multiple fronts. Maria, with her community organizing experience, started knocking on doors in the neighborhood, talking to residents, explaining the situation, and gathering signatures for a petition supporting Rez Road Kitchen. Jace focused on documenting everything. Every interaction with city officials, every complaint, every ambiguous regulation. He realized they were playing a game of attrition, hoping he would simply give up and disappear. He refused to make it easy for them. They also sought legal advice. A pro bono lawyer, sympathetic to their cause, agreed to review their case. "This looks like discriminatory enforcement," she said after examining the documents Maria had gathered. "We can challenge this. It'll be an uphill battle, but we have grounds to fight." The legal challenge added another layer of complexity and stress. Legal fees, even discounted, were a strain on their already tight budget. The uncertainty hung over Rez Road Kitchen like a dark cloud. Would they be shut down? Would they be forced to relocate? Would their dream be crushed by red tape and prejudice? Despite the pressure, Jace and Maria doubled down on what they did best: cooking incredible food and building community, one customer at a time. They started hosting community taste nights, offering free samples and inviting people to learn more about Native American cuisine and culture. They partnered with a local community center, donating a portion of their proceeds to support youth programs. They were determined to prove that Rez Road Kitchen was not a disruptive force, but a valuable addition to the neighborhood, a place of connection, culture, and, of course, delicious food. The battle with City Hall was daunting, but Jace knew they weren't just fighting for their business anymore. They were fighting for something bigger. For fair treatment, for cultural visibility, for the right to share their heritage, unapologetically, in a city that was slowly learning to taste, and hopefully, to understand. Just when the pressure felt unbearable, unexpected allies began to emerge. It started with Mrs. Rodriguez, a longtime resident who lived in one of the older apartment buildings across the street from the food truck lot. She'd initially seemed wary, even a bit disapproving, observing Rez Road Kitchen from her window with a skeptical eye. But then one day, she cautiously approached the truck, drawn in by the aroma of the green chile stew. She ordered a bowl, then another, and another, each time engaging in hesitant but increasingly warm conversations with Jace and Maria. She told them stories of the neighborhood's past, its vibrant mix of cultures, the struggles and triumphs of its people. She spoke of feeling displaced by the rapid gentrification, lamenting the loss of community spirit. Then, Mrs. Rodriguez became their fierce advocate. She circulated Maria's petition in her building, gathering dozens of signatures. She spoke at a community board meeting, passionately defending Rez Road Kitchen against the noise complaint accusations, pointing out the hypocrisy of complaining about a food truck when construction crews for new luxury condos were working around the clock. drowning out the neighborhood in far louder noise. Her passionate speech, delivered in both English and Spanish, resonated deeply. Next came Mr. Henderson, the skeptical older man who had been among their first customers, the one who'd cautiously ordered the green chile stew. Turns out Mr. Henderson was a retired journalist, a seasoned observer of city politics and neighborhood dynamics. He'd been initially wary of the trendy food truck, associating it with gentrification. But Jace's food, and more importantly, Jace's genuine passion and respectful approach, had won him over. Mr. Henderson started writing blog posts of his own, countering the negative online reviews and the anonymous accusations. He investigated the noise complaints, digging into city records, and uncovered that the complaints were indeed suspiciously clustered and seemed to originate from a newly formed residents' association in one of the upscale condo buildings. The same building where the zoning official Maria had spoken to lived. He published his findings, highlighting the likely connection between the complaints, the zoning hurdles, and the deliberate targeting of Rez Road Kitchen. His posts, shared widely on social media, started to turn the tide of public opinion. People began to see Rez Road Kitchen not as an unwelcome intrusion, but as a David battling a Goliath of bureaucracy and prejudice. Even some of the newer residents, initially perhaps indifferent or swayed by the negative whispers, started to rally around Rez Road Kitchen. Drawn by the delicious food and the growing sense of injustice, they joined the lines, signed the petition, and spoke out in support. A group of young professionals organized a Dine-In for Diné day, flooding Rez Road Kitchen with orders and generating even more positive buzz. Jace and Maria were deeply moved by this outpouring of support. It was a reminder that even in a divided city, community could still blossom in unexpected places, across cultural and generational lines, united by a shared sense of fairness and a love for good food. The legal battle was far from over, and the bureaucratic hurdles remained. But with Mrs. Rodriguez, Mr. Henderson, and a growing chorus of allies by their side, Jace and Maria felt a renewed sense of hope. They weren't alone in this fight. And maybe, just maybe, flavor, truth, and community could be a powerful recipe for change. The buzz surrounding Rez Road Kitchen, fueled by community support and Mr. Henderson's investigative blog posts, reached an unexpected ear. Renowned and notoriously demanding food critic Evelyn Sterling, from the city's most influential newspaper, a cryptic email arrived. Ms. Sterling may be visiting Rez Road Kitchen anonymously in the coming days. This is not a request for special treatment, merely an advance courtesy. Jace and Maria exchanged nervous glances. Evelyn Sterling. Her reviews could make or break a restaurant, a food truck, even a chef's entire career. The pressure was immense. This was their chance to silence the doubters, to legitimize Rez Road Kitchen on a wider stage, to prove that their food, their culture, deserved recognition. But it was also a terrifying prospect. Sterling was known for her exacting standards, her sharp palate, and her even sharper pen. One less than glowing review could undo all the hard work, all the progress they'd made. They prepped relentlessly. Jace refined his recipes, ensuring every dish was perfect, every flavor balanced. Maria meticulously cleaned and organized the truck, polishing every surface until it gleamed. They trained their small staff to be extra attentive, extra knowledgeable about the menu, the ingredients, the stories behind the food. The day of the potential review arrived, shrouded in nervous anticipation. Every customer who approached the window was scrutinized, every order dissected in Jace's mind. Was this her? Was that her? He felt like he was in a culinary espionage thriller. Then, around the peak of lunch hour, she arrived. Alone, unassuming, dressed in a simple trench coat, but with an aura of quiet authority that was unmistakable. Evelyn Sterling. She scanned the menu board, her gaze sharp and focused. She ordered a Navajo taco, the cedar plank salmon, and a side of blue corn mush, asking concise, informed questions about each dish. Jace, recognizing her instantly, took her order himself, his hand steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. He poured all his passion, all his skill, into preparing her meal, each step deliberate, each ingredient handled with care. He watched from the corner of his eye as she ate, slowly, deliberately, savoring each bite. Her expression remained neutral, inscrutable. He couldn't read her at all. Maria, equally anxious, tried to distract herself by managing the growing lunchtime line, but her eyes kept darting toward Sterling, seeking any clue, any hint. Sterling finished her meal, then approached the window again. Jace's heart pounded. He braced himself for judgment, for praise, for condemnation, for anything. "Chef," she said, her voice surprisingly soft but direct. "That was remarkable." Relief washed over Jace in a dizzying wave. Remarkable. Coming from Evelyn Sterling, that was high praise indeed. She continued, "The fry bread, perfectly crisp, not greasy at all. The bison, seasoned beautifully, tender. The salmon, cooked to flaky perfection. The cedar notes subtle but present. And the blue corn mush, unexpectedly complex and comforting." She paused, then her lips curved into a faint, almost imperceptible smile. "You're telling a story with your food, chef, and it's a story worth hearing." Before Jace could even stammer out a thank you, she added with a hint of steel in her voice, "I've also heard whispers about inspections, about complaints. I intend to look into that as well." And with that, she turned and walked away, disappearing into the lunchtime crowd as quickly as she had arrived. Jace and Maria stared at each other, speechless for a moment, then erupted into relieved laughter. "Remarkable!" Maria exclaimed. She said remarkable. They knew a positive review wasn't guaranteed. Evelyn Sterling was nothing if not thorough. But her words, her genuine appreciation for the food, for the story behind it, felt like a validation they desperately needed. It was a ray of hope, a promise that Rez Road Kitchen, despite all the challenges, might just have a future after all. And maybe, just maybe, a chance to finally silence the whispers, with the undeniable power of flavor and truth. Evelyn Sterling's review hit the internet like a thunderclap. 4 stars. Rez Road Kitchen, more than just a food truck. It's a culinary revelation. The review was glowing, poetic, and powerfully persuasive. Sterling raved about the flavors, the textures, the cultural depth of Jace's cooking. She highlighted the freshness of ingredients, the artistry of the dishes, and the genuine warmth of the service. But even more significantly, Sterling directly addressed the controversy surrounding Rez Road Kitchen. She mentioned the whispers, the inspections, the bureaucratic hurdles. She subtly alluded to the potential biases at play, praising Rez Road Kitchen not just for its food, but for its resilience, its cultural significance, its contribution to the city's culinary landscape. The review went viral. Social media exploded. Suddenly, everyone was talking about Rez Road Kitchen. Rez Road Kitchen became a trending topic. The online chatter was a chaotic mix of reactions, a social media firestorm ignited by Sterling's powerful words. Positive reviews multiplied, flooding online platforms. Food bloggers, influencers, and everyday food lovers descended on Rez Road Kitchen, eager to taste the culinary revelation for themselves. Lines stretched down the block, around the corner, sometimes even before the truck officially opened. Jace and Maria were overwhelmed, scrambling to keep up with the demand, the positive energy almost intoxicating. But the firestorm also fanned the flames of negativity. The positive buzz triggered a backlash. Negative anonymous reviews resurfaced, amplified by new voices echoing the same prejudiced themes. Overhyped, still not authentic, questionable hygiene, just a sympathy case. The blog post questioning Rez Road Kitchen's nativeness was shared again and again, weaponized by those determined to discredit Jace's success. The comments sections of online articles and social media posts became battlegrounds. Supporters clashed with detractors. Passionate defenses of Rez Road Kitchen met with cynical dismissals and outright racist remarks. The online debate mirrored the real-world tensions surrounding gentrification, cultural appropriation, and ingrained biases. Jace and Maria found themselves caught in the crossfire. The positive reviews were exhilarating, but the negative comments, especially the personal attacks and the racist undertones, were deeply hurtful. Jace wrestled with the urge to respond, to defend himself, to correct the misinformation. But Maria cautioned against it. "Don't feed the trolls, Jace," she advised. "Focus on the positive. Let the food speak for itself. Let our supporters speak for us." They doubled down on their commitment to quality, to community, to their core values. They used their social media platforms not to argue with critics, but to share their story, to educate people about Diné cuisine, to highlight the positive community support they were receiving. They posted photos of the overflowing lines, videos of happy customers, stories about their collaborations with the community center, amplifying the voices of their allies. The online firestorm raged on, a reflection of a society grappling with complex issues of race, culture, and authenticity. But amidst the chaos, one thing became clear. Rez Road Kitchen had ignited a conversation. And in that conversation, amidst the divided opinions, a powerful, undeniable truth was emerging. People were hungry. Hungry for authentic flavors, hungry for genuine connection, and hungry for stories that challenged their assumptions and broadened their understanding. And Rez Road Kitchen was serving it all up, one delicious meal, one powerful story at a time. The social media firestorm, though turbulent, ultimately had a galvanizing effect. The outpouring of support, amplified by Evelyn Sterling's review and the online buzz, solidified Rez Road Kitchen's place in the neighborhood and in the city's culinary scene. But it also made the underlying prejudices, the subtle and not-so-subtle attempts to undermine them, even more apparent. Jace and Maria realized they couldn't just ignore the negativity or hope it would go away. They had to actively fight back, not with anger or defensiveness, but with their food, their story, and their unwavering commitment to their values. They decided to lean into their cultural heritage even more boldly. Jace expanded the menu, introducing dishes that were even more deeply rooted in Diné tradition, using ingredients sourced directly from Native American producers whenever possible. He added a dish of the week, featuring lesser-known specialties, sharing the history and cultural significance of each ingredient and preparation on the menu board and on social media. Maria organized culture and cuisine evenings at the food truck lot, partnering with local Native American artists, musicians, and storytellers to showcase Diné culture. These evenings became vibrant celebrations, drawing diverse crowds, fostering genuine cross-cultural exchange, and directly challenging the prejudiced stereotypes that had been circulating. They also decided to directly address the authenticity debate, but on their own terms. Jace started offering Fry Bread Fridays, with variations on fry bread from different Native American nations, highlighting the diversity within indigenous cuisine and turning the criticism on its head. He created a visually engaging display, showcasing the history of fry bread, its origins in hardship, and its evolution into a symbol of resilience and adaptation. And when the inevitable next inspection arrived, they were ready. Maria had enlisted Mr. Henderson, the retired journalist, to be present, documenting the entire process. She also contacted a local civil rights organization, alerting them to the pattern of inspections and the potential for discriminatory targeting. The inspector, visibly uncomfortable under scrutiny, conducted a routine, perfunctory inspection and left without incident. They even addressed the online negativity directly but strategically. Instead of engaging in arguments, They created a community love wall on their website and at the food truck, showcasing positive reviews, messages of support, and photos of happy customers from all backgrounds. They turned the focus away from the negativity and towards the overwhelming positivity, creating a visible testament to the community they were building. These proactive steps, these acts of culinary and cultural assertion, transformed Rez Road Kitchen from just a food truck into something more, a cultural beacon, a community hub, a symbol of resilience and pride. They weren't just serving food, they were serving up a powerful message that Native American culture was vibrant, valuable, and here to stay. The battle wasn't over. The prejudices hadn't magically disappeared. But with each Navajo taco served, each story shared, each act of cultural celebration, Rez Road Kitchen was chipping away at the walls of ignorance and bias, one delicious, courageous bite at a time. They were standing strong, fighting back not with anger, but with flavor, with culture, and with the unwavering belief in the power of food to build bridges and change hearts. Months passed. Rez Road Kitchen became a neighborhood institution, a place where lines were long, smiles were genuine, and the aroma of wood smoke and roasting chilies hung in the air like a fragrant promise. The food truck lot transformed from cracked asphalt into a vibrant community space, animated by music, art, and the constant hum of conversation in multiple languages. The bureaucratic hurdles hadn't vanished entirely, but they became less frequent, less aggressive. The constant inspections subsided. The zoning challenges seemed to fade into the background, perhaps due to the mounting positive publicity and the growing community support. The pro bono lawyer continued to work on their case, but the immediate pressure from City Hall eased. More importantly, the whispers changed. The prejudiced murmurs were replaced by enthusiastic recommendations, by genuine curiosity, by a growing appreciation for Diné culture. Customers came from all walks of life: longtime residents, new condo dwellers, tourists, foodies, drawn by the rave reviews, the enticing aromas, and the increasingly compelling story of Rez Road Kitchen. People weren't just ordering food. They were engaging with Jace and Maria, asking questions about the dishes, about the culture, about the stories behind the recipes. They were learning to pronounce Navajo, to appreciate blue corn, to understand the significance of fry bread. Beyond the surface stereotypes, they were connecting with a culture that had been largely invisible to them before, breaking down barriers with every shared meal. Mrs. Rodriguez became a regular fixture at the truck, bringing her neighbors, translating for Spanish-speaking customers, becoming an unofficial ambassador for Rez Road Kitchen. Mr. Henderson continued to champion their cause online, using his journalistic skills to highlight other local businesses owned by people of color facing similar challenges, expanding the conversation beyond Rez Road Kitchen. Even Evelyn Sterling returned, not for a formal review, but as a regular customer, often bringing colleagues and friends, further solidifying Rez Road Kitchen's reputation as a must-try destination. And she struck up a genuine friendship with Jace and Maria, becoming a valuable mentor and advocate. One evening, during a culture and cuisine night, as a Native American flute player filled the air with haunting melodies, and children danced in the twilight, Jace looked around at the scene unfolding before him, a wave of emotion washing over him. The diverse crowd, the shared laughter, the palpable sense of community. It was everything he had dreamed of, and more. He saw Mrs. Rodriguez chatting animatedly with a young couple from the new condos. He saw Mr. Henderson filming the musicians, capturing the moment for his blog. He saw Evelyn Sterling patiently explaining the nuances of blue corn mush to a curious newcomer. He saw people connecting, learning, understanding across lines of race, class, and culture, all united by the simple act of sharing food, sharing stories, sharing space. In that moment, Jace realized that Rez Road Kitchen was more than just a food truck. It was a bridge across divides, a bridge between cultures, a bridge connecting the past and the present, tradition and innovation, prejudice and understanding. And that bridge was being built, one delicious meal at a time, with flavor, with courage, and with an unwavering belief in the power of food to change the world, or at least a small corner of it. To celebrate their one-year anniversary, and to give back to the community that had embraced them, Jace and Maria decided to host a grand community feast. It wouldn't just be a celebration of Rez Road Kitchen's success. It would be a celebration of the neighborhood, of resilience, of cultural diversity, and of the power of food to unite. They closed down the food truck for a full day to prepare, transforming the lot into a festive outdoor dining space. They set up long communal tables decorated with colorful tablecloths and Native American artwork. They invited local musicians, artists, and community groups to participate. They planned a menu that was a grand showcase of Diné cuisine, featuring all their signature dishes and some special, celebratory additions. The response was overwhelming. Volunteers poured in to help set up, to serve food, to manage the crowds. Local businesses donated supplies and drinks. Evelyn Sterling helped spread the word, leveraging her platform to ensure the event was a resounding success. Mrs. Rodriguez mobilized her neighbors, ensuring everyone in her building, especially the elderly and those with limited mobility, could attend. Mr. Henderson live-blogged the event, capturing the vibrant atmosphere and the spirit of unity. On the day of the feast, the sun shone brightly, as if in perfect collaboration with their plans. The aroma of roasting meats, simmering stews, and freshly baked fry bread filled the air, drawing people from all corners of the neighborhood and beyond. The lines for food snaked around the block, but no one seemed to mind. There was a sense of excitement, of shared celebration, that transcended the wait. Jace and Maria worked tirelessly, grilling, frying, plating, their faces beaming with pride and gratitude. Nana May even made the journey from her home, overseeing the fry bread station, with a twinkle in her eye and sharing stories with customers as they waited in line. The feast was a resounding success. People from all walks of life sat side by side at the communal tables, sharing food, sharing stories, sharing laughter. There were families who had lived in the neighborhood for generations, mingling with newcomers from the luxury condos. There were artists and activists, business owners and community organizers, all breaking bread together, forging connections over Navajo tacos and blue corn mush. During a lull in the afternoon, Jace and Maria stood back, watching the scene unfold, a quiet moment of reflection amidst the joyful chaos. "Look at this, Jace," Maria said, her voice thick with emotion, gesturing at the vibrant tapestry of people, food, and music surrounding them. "We did this," Jace nodded, his heart overflowing. "We did," he echoed. "But we didn't do it alone. This is all of us. This is community." As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the feast, Jace raised a makeshift toast, his voice amplified by a small microphone, reaching every corner of the lot. "To Rez Road Kitchen," he said, "to our amazing community, to resilience, to culture, and to the power of food to bring us all together. Thank you, all of you." The crowd erupted in cheers, raising their plates and cups in response. The community feast wasn't just a celebration, it was a testament to the enduring power of culture, community, and food to overcome prejudice, to build bridges, and to create a taste of change, one delicious meal, one shared moment, at a time. The success of the community feast resonated far beyond the neighborhood. It garnered media attention, further amplifying Rez Road Kitchen's story. Jace and Maria were invited to speak at food festivals, community events, and even culinary conferences, sharing their journey, their challenges, and their triumphs. The legal battle with City Hall eventually reached a resolution. The pro bono lawyer, armed with Mr. Henderson's investigative findings and the mounting public support, negotiated a settlement. The zoning violations and noise complaints were quietly dropped. While not a full admission of wrongdoing, it was a victory nonetheless, a clear signal that discriminatory targeting would not be tolerated. Rez Road Kitchen continued to thrive. Jace and Maria expanded their operation, adding a second food truck, allowing them to reach more neighborhoods, share their food with a wider audience, and create more opportunities for their growing staff, many of whom came from the local community. But their vision extended beyond just food trucks. Inspired by the community they had built, they started exploring the possibility of opening a brick-and-mortar restaurant, a permanent space where they could further showcase Diné cuisine, create a cultural hub, and provide even more jobs and opportunities for their community. Nana May, beaming with pride, offered to contribute her traditional recipes and her years of culinary wisdom to the new venture. Evelyn Sterling became a silent partner and advisor, providing invaluable guidance and support. Mrs. Rodriguez, Mr. Henderson, and countless other allies continued to cheer them on, their initial support evolving into lasting friendships and partnerships. Years later, Rez Road Kitchen was no longer just a food truck or even just a restaurant. It was a legacy built on flavor, resilience, culture, and community. Jace and Maria had not only created a successful business, they had sparked a movement, inspiring other chefs and entrepreneurs from marginalized communities to share their stories, their cultures, their flavors, unapologetically. They had proven that food could be a powerful tool for social change, a way to challenge prejudice, to build bridges, to foster understanding, and to nourish not just bodies, but souls. They had transformed a cracked corner lot into a vibrant community space, and in doing so, they had helped transform a neighborhood, and perhaps, in a small but meaningful way, the world. As Jace looked out at the bustling restaurant, filled with the happy hum of conversation and the enticing aromas of Diné cuisine, he smiled. The road had been long and challenging, filled with obstacles and doubts, but it had also been a journey of incredible growth, unexpected alliances, and the unwavering belief in the power of a dream, seasoned with courage, culture, and a whole lot of delicious food. And the journey, he knew, was far from over. The road ahead was open, filled with endless possibilities, and the flavors of change were just beginning to be tasted. What did you think of Jace and Maria's journey with Rez Road Kitchen? Did it leave you feeling hungry for Navajo tacos? Or maybe just hungry for a more inclusive and understanding world? We hope this story inspired you to think about the power of food, culture, and community to overcome prejudice and build bridges. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more tales of resilience, cultural celebration, and fighting for what's right. Let us know in the comments what resonated most with you about Rez Road Kitchen's story. And tell us, what flavors of change do you want to see in the world? Thank you for watching. And remember, every meal, every story, every act of kindness can be a recipe for a better world.